Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to your Friday. I got the main man, the legend himself, BigBeat from Wall Street. How are we doing today, Steve?
I'm good, man. It's Friday. Look, at the end of the week, we've had a pretty long week here, I think, so far. And gosh, I just turned on CNBC, and right there in my face is all the Fed governors already coming out, huh?
Yeah. I don't know who's watching the Ark of the Covenant. I saw Mr. Kashkari on. I'm sorry. Every time I look at the guy, I think it was Harrison Ford's arch nemesis. So, speaking of arch nemesis, what is going on in the White House here? Bessent came out yesterday, said, no, we're not worried about the Fed and the Fed rates. We're going to do it ourselves through the 10-year Treasury. What are you thinking about that one?
I think that they're realizing that the Constitution and laws kind of actually do still fit. You can't just walk over the Fed and say, please lower the rates. I did say that, look, this is a different type of Treasury. It's going to be a different type of White House, and it's going to be more bully pulpit, which is okay. I understand. They have the presidency. But you can't just walk over and say, Mr. Powell, you need to change the rates just because I say so. We need to have, rules and understanding. Now, I have been banging on the desk a long time that the Fed's been behind the curve, and here they go again. We heard it from Jay Woods yesterday, right? Saying, hey, look, the Fed's behind the curve, and he raised rates too fast. Now look at it now. Now we need to start bringing rates down again. Now he's not going to do it. It's too much, right? So I get this, and Bassett's right. The problem to me is that it's how you do it. You get more flies with honey than you do with a sword. So
absolutely. I guess my other takeaway would be, or question for you would be, does this make Bessent sort of the sounding board that Trump's going to maybe listen to and be the voice of reason a little bit, in that sort of role? Because that'd be a nice step from the last time that he was in office.
No, Trump is going to be Trump, and that's what he is, and that's who he is. And we've seen this, and this is nothing new. It's been 16 years of it, and it's not going to change. And it's okay. I kind of like that. Markets like that. Markets, look, they may not like it, they may like him, but they know what he's going to do, and he says he's going to do it. He's pretty much going to do it. So, I do like that fact about Trump. If he says, "Hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. We're going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America." He pretty much did it, right? And so, you got to, we may not like what he says, or he may not like what he does, but he says it, he's pretty much going to do it. So we need to pay attention to that.
And then, we just had jobs numbers come out, sort of a nothing burger, right? Saw the wick move a little bit up and down on the Q, but it went up and down, didn't come back. So biggest news was a revision to the previous number.
Right.
Sort of my takeaway from it. So it wasn't really much there that I saw. As we start to look into what's going on around the world and in markets, can start with Bitcoin back up towards 99K here. So it has recovered a little bit. I put a note in here. I think it's, if you look at the hourlies, what I've been watching here, pretty tight range since yesterday around 10 o'clock in between this 95.9, really 96,000 and this 99. So I'll be interested to see if we get a push through the edge of one of these, because it will start a cascade of liquidations either way. So we could see some volatility today. We still have CME futures that will settle later on today around 2 o'clock. So that will be the big thing to keep an eye on there. Gold, we had Peter Thomas on yesterday. You interviewed him, Steve, near record high, broke up to 28.9250. So what do I think you've called for, right? 3,000 in the next quarter or so.
Yeah, I think within the quarter we'll see 3,000. We talked about it from the silver perspective too. Still, silver's holding above 32 handle here, 32.7.
I actually have that one too, because I will say after yesterday's, I was a little bit more bullish on the non-gold metals after listening to Mr. Thomas talk. He, like yourself, has a firm belief silver could really catch a bid here if it can break that 35 handle that it hit here back in earlier. And if it gets through that 35, watch for it to go up towards 50. He's right with you on that number. So I do like that. He also mentioned palladium as one to keep a real eye on. He brought out that chart and showed, I didn't realize how much it had dropped over, as EV cards have evolved.
That's right. Yeah.
And it, he made it clear that he's seen a lot of buying from banks and bigger people there. So palladium might be one to keep your eyes on here. Overseas, I noticed that, China bounced back overnight up about 1%. So a little bit of the uncertainty here in the U.S. might be given a little bit of wings. We haven't seen much movement here over the last, month on China. Anemic, no real. What I was looking for, there wasn't a huge, stimulus announced or anything else like Mr. Flanagan said to watch for. So just a little move up here. Stocks and Nikkei both seem to have sort of stalled out here after both reaching the highs this week. So we do see little bit of movement around the world. Earnings still seem to be the main thing at play here. We got to start with Amazon last night, right? They announced earnings down. I know the answer to this already, but you are sort of watching them today, right?
Yeah, totally. Amazon. I mean, they just did something that I didn't think would happen for a little while, but they did pass up sales of Walmart, the largest retailer in the planet. And Amazon is now the largest on the planet. Now, I've said this, watch the AWS numbers, which we saw, right? We saw them actually pull back because of Google Cloud. We saw Google Cloud also having issues in money. Look, I know that AWS is expensive. It's web services. That's where you hold a lot of this. And to me, that told me everything. And so look, is Amazon going to go right back up and make more money and the price of the stock go up and up and up? Yes. I would wait till they let it pull back a bit. If you start to push back up, okay. But to me, I'm just really not quite there yet. But I do like their streaming numbers. It was really good with their Prime Video. And of course, sales of, you just go to Amazon now to buy everything, right? Or, you don't.
Absolutely. They had a nice operating income beat of 21.2 billion versus 19 expected, showing strong profitability, and that boosted some good sentiment there. Their advertising revenue, I also was looking at, was slightly down, but a minor shortfall. Bigger takeaways on 2025 outlook. $100 billion planned AI investment, so they are ahead of all the others. So that was bigger than the other three. I was a little surprised that they even went above everybody else.
I saw Jassy 2 weeks ago in Davos in Switzerland, and I listened to him talk, and I would talk to him personally. They are going to spend big money on Anthropic. Why? Because they have a very interesting niche AI that works great, and it's called Anthropic, and Anthropic works well, and they've got Claude. And what is the difference between this AI and the rest? And they needed something different than everybody else, right? It's not open AI specifically. It's narrative AI, meaning that it takes what they're saying and seeing and turning it into a more understandable, parsed language so that you can understand it in any language, but understand it in your own language, localization. Meaning, if you live in Florida, you want to hear it a little differently than you hear it in New York, right? How you do it. So they're very good at that, and that thing is getting bigger and bigger.
My other takeaways were a couple of things. Over 1,000 generative AI applications in development at Amazon right now. So again, if you think the world of AI is slowing down, as some have talked recently, no, it is just speeding up. The other thing I was interested, they talked about DeepSeek and how they're looking for some collaboration there, along with their Trainium 2 AI chip. So I was surprised to see them mention almost DeepSeek and a positive sort of mention, and bring up that again this morning all across, Bloomberg and CNBC, or our elected officials, they're rapidly getting bipartisan support to ban DeepSeek already. Did you see any of that today?
Yeah, and I just noticed on CNBC right now, SoftBank is set to invest $40 billion in OpenAI at $260 billion pre-money val.
Yeah, like we said, it is slowing down.
Right? Yeah. The problem with AI right now is it's not making money yet, right? We're not quite there at the profitability. And I harp on this a lot, that, if you look back at the beginning of the internet didn't make any money either. Now we can't live without it, right? And it's the only thing making money. And of course, we just see it where Amazon's passing up the brick and mortars.
Uber didn't make money for years. Sometimes you have to lose to make, and they seem to be doing it in the right way. He also Jassy did talk about how AI costs are declining, and use that Sharpe's ratio as a method that is going to just increase and increase. So the payoff, as he put it, is going to be huge.
Astronomical. Yep.
So yeah, so like you said, let's see how it battles, over the next 24, 48 hours here. But it could be an interesting spot for Amazon there. I was surprised. Most of the analyst talk, even the sort of upside analysts, only looking for about 250. So it wasn't a huge move up, but I am a believer in Amazon too. We'll be looking at that dip without a doubt.
99.4 right now on Bitcoin. Most people know I sold a little bit, sold a lot at 98.2 yesterday. So I'm a little concerning, but look, I took a little off yesterday on the Bitcoin.
Yeah, you and I were talking about it before we came on. I have a similar philosophy that you do across the broader crypto spectrum, that all the stuff going on right now is a little wonky. There's a lot of things at play. We could see some big dips before we see the next rip. Bitcoin, I'm a little bit more stable just because Saylor, and then I don't know if you saw yesterday the House in Utah passed a bill allowing for 5% of their reserves to be put into Bitcoin. It was funny on X. There was a lot of controversy because it's actually Bitcoin and stable coins. So they're actually going to hold some stable coins. But that, I think some of those pressures are going to start to hit. So we'll see there. One that I wasn't, have never really understood that much. Pinterest really jumped up, Steve. Great earnings. It's just one of those things that I've never been a player in it. Don't understand it. Do you use it at all?
Oh my gosh, no, I wouldn't even know what to do with a pin. It's just, I mean, I don't make doilies and
yeah, I was about to say my wife loves it and she uses it and sends me things from it, but it's not there. But the things that I took away there for Pinterest and why they are up nicely here, over 20% now, is that their monthly active users grew 11%. Now have over 500 million users. So that was pretty good. And they are just seeing, great growth everywhere. They talked about Canada, where they're moving great, US and Canada. Globally, they hit their numbers. In Europe, they hit their numbers. So, while it's not maybe for you and I, Pinterest definitely looking pretty good here. And this is one that's moving up, even though they had an EPS miss rather. So, that's the other thing I'm talking about. Forward guidance seems to be riding the day. It makes sense with some of these multiples that they trade at, right?
I mean, I like it. I mean, I'm not a middle-aged mother in the Midwest, trying to sell Beanie Babies. But there is a market for that. And I like that, right? I mean, you think about it from eBay perspective and Pinterest. If that's the case, then eBay should be ready to go with their earnings. So, hey, 20% jump in one day is a pretty good jump for a company that I don't really keep my eye on. So
yeah,
well done there. Yeah,
absolutely. One of my favorite companies because it has the best name in the business, Monolithic Power. There's a strong name that you want to see. They had earnings last night. MPWR up about 6.8% here. Semiconductor creator. My takeaway there again is their concern about cars. We see cars coming up in so many different sort of channel checks, right? And they brought it up that they sell a lot of chips to cars, and they could see that slowing down as they see slowdown in cars being built and sold over the next 12 months. So I took away more from that, so to speak, than I did from there. Again, they talked about their AI boom, AI-driven data centers are fueling their growth. They also made it clear that they remain a key supplier for NVIDIA's next-gen products, both Blackwell and the quantum computing chips. So good to see that. They did give Q1 revenue guidance, which is now much higher than was expected. They were expected at 578 million, now looking somewhere between 610 to 630 million. So we do see a nice report here by Monolithic. I will say it did the immediate pump and the half-back reversion that we've been talking so much about. I want to bring this chart, because this is sort of showing everything you almost want to know about how the market's playing out lately, right? We see this huge jump up here, from 670 to 820 and the immediate pullback to 700. And it's just, the algos are catching on. They're just forcing the buys. And then after the sort of cooler minds prevail, what do we see? We tend to see these half-back reversions, right?
And I would also say that there's a lot of people that Monolithic Power, it's a very institutionalized ownership there too as well. That it said, look, a nice big 12% pop in one day, and I've been holding it for 2, 3, 4 years. I'm going to take a profit and run. And that's what they've done. They probably pulled some back a little bit, makes it smart. I mean, the key to monolithic power is the sheer number of converters that they have. They've got the chipsets that are configurable now. And I like that a lot. So for me, I do like monolithic power, but they have run and they have moved a little higher now, based on the fact that cars are not going to just be EV anymore. They're going back to other things. So Palladium, MPS, I mean, you can see these things start to happen here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting here. Looks like it might try to close this gap to the upside. So definitely has, from a technical side, looks pretty good too here for a move up after, bottoming out here in November and sort of consolidating for a long time in that 600 to 650 zone. So nice move up by Monolithic. One of my favorite games out there, Take-Two, had some good earnings here. And main reason is GTA 6 fall 2025 release, Steve. I don't think you play that one. Do you?
I do. I played GTA in the old days. I don't play the new one. I'll tell you, Red Dead also makes me happy too.
Borderlands, they talked about Borderlands 4, Mafia, the old country. So they got a lot going on. Another stock though that has consolidated nicely in this area here in between 180 and 190. Broke out here today, so one you could see a continued breakout on.
I think the question you have to ask with Take-Two is the new Civilization 7, Civ 7. I mean, is that going to be on everybody's Xbox and PlayStation? And here's what I think. I think the big winner in the gaming sector could possibly be Nintendo. NTDOI, okay. Yeah, with the new Switch.
They had earnings the other day. I sort of skipped over them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Nintendo could possibly run here with the new Switch. The new Switch is looking pretty good. So,
yeah, and that goes to the generation that I'm not part of either. I never got into Switch, but my younger nephew loves it, plays it all the time. So I could definitely see how that could be. Another one that you've been a fan of over the years, Steve, had a nice earnings report. Expedia here. Nice little beat. Up about 12.24%. And again, that actually broke right through the resistance it had on the daily chart here at 190. And it's holding up. Like I said, as opposed to like we talked about, a lot of these making that halfback reversion. This one didn't. It came back and it's already surging back up. So it seems to be one that's catching a little bit of wins here. One I'd be watching for a push further up on Expedia.
I'm going to say Expedia better get in gear and get AI all in that system, because that's going to make a difference where the machine, you sign in, you log into your account, and it knows that I like to cruise. It knows I like to go to certain places. Great. And it's going to look for places for me, right? And continue to send me out advertisements for that area, right?
That's a great point. And, as you said, the agent AI part of it is what I would be looking for, because that's what I'd say. Expedia for me too, still hard to use. They're not connected to every airline. They don't give you all the information you need. I'm usually going back and forth between Google Flights and JetBlue and Southwest and then Expedia to try to find something. If they can figure a way to bridge that gap, I think they would have a much bigger hold on the market. But they did have good earnings across the board. My other takeaway with Expedia was that they talked about that their huge increase in business to business there, which I never realized they were that big into that side of it. So business to business, they saw about a 20% increase, definitely has them moving up today. Others still moving up. Affirm, another one that has had huge earnings overnight. And we see there they had revenue beats, 866 million versus 807 estimate here. They have, again, breaking close to their all-time highs, 73.34 all-time highs. I'm more of a fader at this level than I am a continuation buyer. How about you?
I couldn't agree more. I think Affirm has got something behind them. When you buy now, pay later, right? So it seems the way it's going to go.
Got a request here from our man Ron Williams. Take a look at the Paramount Global chart here and give us our opinion here. It's, for me, stuck right in between the 200-day MA resistance, 50-day MA support since, Friday, January 24th. I need to see a breakout from either side personally. How about you?
Paramount Global is about one thing and one thing only: Sherry Redstone. Whether or not she will allow the company to be bought, and I do think that there are bidders for it. I mean, Warner Brothers is very interested in Paramount Global, so this is not one that I would trade. This is one that you're buying because you really think that there's a good chance of a buyout happening. Sherry is Sumner, as we all know, Sumner Redstone. Is gone, and Sherry's now taken over, and she's doing a pretty good job running it. Look at Paramount Global. I actually do have an account with Paramount Global. You know, Paramount. And I'll tell you, I think the shows are getting better and better there, and what she can't make, she buys. So that's always good. But
and I would point out they are part of Amazon's Prime options too. So I do think that that puts them in a good seat, as you and I have talked about. Amazon streaming continues to get better. It seems to be a focus that Amazon's putting, so that should help maybe give some tailwinds also to Paramount. So we'll see there. Others that were moving up today: UPC, Universal Pharmaceuticals. This is one I'm just going to warn people, be careful here. They got a delisting notice, and now they're getting a dead cat bounce. I would not be a follower into this one, so be careful there. It was up 27%. I just wanted to point it out. On the downside, Steve, Nikola. Looks like they could declare bankruptcy here very quickly.
Let's push another truck down the hill. I think if you look at this chart, they did push that truck down the hill, right?
They did, yeah. That is the truck down the hill. And for those that don't know, their owner famously had a great video that we all watched together. I remember back in the day, Steve, during COVID, where the 18-wheeler that Nikola was building and was going to sell it to everybody was introduced, and then later on, Heidenberg pointed out that it was pushed down a hill to make it move.
It's unfortunate. Bitcoin back to 100,000 here, Howard.
Yeah, nice move. And I would point out they have about 270 million in long-term debt and only have about 200 million in unrestricted cash, and they're burning 150 million a quarter. So it does not look like they have a good chance to make it here. So sad to see a company go out of business, but there was a lot wrong with that one. Another one getting hit hard today, Steve, the cannabis business, Canopy Growth, down about 22% here after their earnings.
It's exactly what's happened. What I said was going to happen back in the day. That cannabis would eventually become commoditized, and it will just eventually just be something that everybody wants. If you want it, if you don't want it, no big deal. If you can't buy cannabis right now down the street, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what state you live in. You probably live in a crazy state. Everybody has it now, and it's not going to be one of those things where the world's going to run out and just smoke weed.
Well, it's like the rest of farming. What happens is, margins suck. The growers are the ones that are having problems because there isn't much margin. Competition has only brought prices down. They talked about that, and that, tends to be the problem, that there's not sustainable profitability and market value creation. So another one that was down pretty significantly. Those were a couple of the major losers here. As we are about 7 minutes from open here, man, rates are definitely not listening to Scott Bessent, as we see the 10 years moved up 1.24% here, 30-year up 1.12. So it doesn't look like they're buying that rhetoric out of the White House so far. Bitcoin not able to hold above that 100 like you've talked about, Steve. It just can't seem. There are definite, whales that are manipulating or moving the market price there every time it makes that move to 100 right now, right?
Yeah, and you're seeing light sweet crude pushing also 71.28. That bottom down there. Gold now 28.70 now an ounce, so it's pushing up again. That's going to push up again. That's going to push against the stock market too today.
Steve, I did see some calls out for oil here to be slipping. And they're warning that prices could dip to $65 to $68 if trade tensions persist. You see that happening, or are you sort of on the other side of that?
I'm on the other side of that. I think the floor is put in.
That's what I thought you were going to say. I'm with you on that. I do think very similarly there. but do want to point that out. WTI at 71 today, Brent at 74. What was that?
Gold's pumping.
Gold is getting a little bit of a run here.
28.72 now.
Yeah, the other one that Peter Thomas talked about yesterday was copper. Look at that, up 2.88%
Copper,
today.
yeah, most definitely. As they begin to replace the stuff out in the copper out in the wildfires in California. Yeah.
And that was an interesting one because I had when he had talked to us earlier in the day and said he was going to bring up copper, I thought it was going to be about all the electronics and sort of the way it built there. He brought up that they don't use PVC piping there because of the the weather. They use copper piping for their plumbing, and that's a huge need for copper. So one to keep an eye on definitely is copper coming up. So far, QQQ, about 5 minutes from the open tick, has been pretty neutral here. Advanced decline sitting at 1,200, so that could go to zero or it could go the wrong way up to about 2,500. So we'll see what we get at open. What are you calling for here to finish up the week, Steve?
I think it's going to be a very slow day. We saw that yesterday. Now, I know that there's options that are going to be burning today in the afternoon. So there's a good chance of that. But to be honest with you, no, I don't really see that happening. I think it'll be a slow day. Pick up in the afternoon. I mean, I know that it's always crazy between 9:30 and 10, which is silliness. But yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I will tell you the one thing I'm looking at, and we talked to Jay Woods about it yesterday, was the big one was healthcare, right? Healthcare was the big sector. And you also saw that in the job growth numbers. And I'll post those here for everybody to see, maybe help out a little bit, scroll across the bottom there. So you can see the numbers as 44,000 new jobs in healthcare. That's a lot of jobs in healthcare. That's a lot of hospitals needing that's where the jobs are, right? And so for me, that's a lot. Healthcare and retail trade.
Would you be looking at someone beat down like yesterday? Molina Health on earnings went down about 10%. Would you be looking at them as something here, or are you more looking at the UNHs, the Elevances, and the Cignas and that sort of field?
You took the word out of my mouth. It's Cigna to me. I think Cigna's probably going to have a good. It's ticker CI. Yep. They might be the one that you might want to look at. If you look at them from a perspective of a weekly chart, I'm going to go way back, right? So let's go weekly chart.
You got it.
So if you pull up a weekly chart, you can see that there are the 200 weekly chart. You can see that if you pull up, there you go. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right there, that this could be where we get back to 370, 380, where it was. It's got some room to grow, right? So, and there's still the market cap there's a 78 billion. So there's a good chance here that there's things here, and it sports at almost 2% dividend yield. So if you're also looking to, you wait on it a little bit, it's longer term. But I like Cigna here. It's a good time to buy. If you're looking to buy.
I love that call out. I love it right there. That, everything, as I look more from the technical side than the fundamental. I don't know the fundamentals on Cigna, quite honestly, but from a technical side, like you said, it consolidated just below that 200 weekly, broke above it. You got the undercut, and now you have the rally. I love it. That's a good one. Looking there again, folks. That's CI, the Cigna Group, Managed Healthcare. So definitely one to keep an eye on here. You also mentioned consumer spending. What are you thinking in that sort of area there?
With that, social. Let's talk about that a little bit. Spending to me tells me a lot, right? That there is this feeling that people are still doom spending, and we're seeing that, right? And a good example of that would be today's Expedia's numbers, right? Where they're actually going out there and they're going on trips. And they don't want to do their own homework. They don't want to Google, they don't want to go to ChatGPT and say, okay, send me to some place, right? They're actually just going to places they already know, right? They're going to Cancun, and they're going to the normal places they go to, Florida, right? California, Southern California. They're not getting on the plane and going across the ocean and going into Europe. But they should be. That's what we're talking about here, right? The dollar is so strong right now. Yeah. This is a dang good time to go to Europe. This is a good time.
I was looking at it. I saw a thing. I like to ski, as you know. You can go a week of skiing in Switzerland is like half the price of going to Colorado.
Yeah.
right now because of the strength of the dollar, and then just the fact. Hey, you know what? One we haven't brought up in a while, MTN.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, Steve, but you owe me a bottle of rum.
Do I now?
Yeah, if you remember up here when it was breaking that high, this is the weekly. I need the daily. Sorry. We had a little bet on whether it would break 200 first or 185.
So
That
we
was
won. All
over
right.
here. I meant to bring that up. I had done it. Now, I didn't know a strike was going to happen, so I have to be very honest.
Right.
I can't take full credit. I didn't know they would have a strike by there, but they have.
But you know what? You know why they went on strike? Because they want more money because the place is making a lot of money. So
absolutely. But I did win one. I don't win many with you there. And that was one. And I totally forgot because you were out of the country when it happened. We are open here, Steve. Yeah. Starting off a little bit negative here. The advanced decline dropped down about 700 on the open. So we're seeing that we are down. We're up 700 to the positive side, but it was at 1,400 before the open. We see Bitcoin is holding up at 99.5 here. QQQ's first move is to the upside, though, so that's good to see. Same thing with SPY and the Dow. So the first moves are to the upside so far here.
I don't trust first moves. I think we go higher today, but we melt up. Yeah, Nvidia now positive on the day 129.30. I'm still positive on some of these things here. I like the Qs. I think we go higher today, but I'm not putting a lot of faith in anything going on today, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, Steve, you know I unfortunately have to get running here today, and you are going to take the helm for us. Have a fantastic weekend, Quasar Markets Live. I'll see you back Monday morning at 9 a.m. We have a huge day on Monday of guests, so make sure you tune in.
All right, I'm going to share my screen as well now. I'm going to pull up my screens as well and get that going. And I'm going to pull up the Quasar Market screens here. I'm going to show my screen. There we go. And I'm going to show the widgets. I'm going to pull up the morning show. You can see right now it says Musk is basically now in charge of what they call the fundamental plumbing of the U.S. government. Musk is still pushing on the Doge. We noticed that quite heavily now. I mean, we keep our eye on some of the things going on here in the United States. We got some numbers coming up with University of Michigan's consumer sentiment numbers, wholesale inventories. Those numbers are pretty important this afternoon at 10 o'clock. I will keep our eyes on that too as well. But we're hearing reports that U.S. is at full employment. If that's the case, then look, there's some issues coming on here, and I'm very interested in that. I'll pull up the real numbers here for me. You can watch some of the videos. There you go. Tesla pushing higher here, 377 now, 129.67 now on NVIDIA on the highs of the day now. So we kind of talked about that this morning. I said that's going to happen. Big market movers, MGOL, CYTH, and GDT and Farm pushing higher here now. So I like that. NVIDIA getting a buy here in the early trade here. There it is, 129.78. Could it break to 130 now? That's what we've been talking about. Looking at spot gold, 28.74 now, continuing to push higher here. So all of these things we've been talking about with this morning are now actually happening. So, yep, that is literally how fast our system works, actually. You can pull up options, and pull up Quasar Markets Live. You can see here our watch list. I've got Apple up here. I am still continuing to keep my eye there on Disney, but very important there. Yep. I'll show you how easy it is to change out the system. If you scroll up a little bit, you can click on the buttons. You can click on change the widget. Look how many widgets we have. We have over 1,000 different things going into the system. You can pull up all kinds of fun things. There you go. It's literally that easy, and we can just save it. Yeah. Boom. All right. Deutsche Bank says they are now tightening the terms under which it provides loans for investors. Of course, right? You know, as rates continue to go higher, and we're seeing now, right, 4.489%. So rates go higher. That means that they've got to be a little bit more careful with what they're lending out to make sure that everybody's doing it right. But still going higher. Looking at Apple's chain here, looks like some of these numbers are coming in pretty quick now. So keeping our eye there. And we'll do demos. And look, see some of the new bills coming out in the House there now in the Senate. Resolutions are flying now. So we know that that's definitely the case. And we heard earlier from Howard talking about Pinterest, so PINS, there it is right there, top stories coming out right there. Bitcoin 99,465 now. There it is. NVIDIA breaking above the 130 handle here for a second there. I had a feeling that was going to happen, and bam, it did that. So totally got that one. All right. Pull it up, trading view here for us all. Really know. And keeping our eye here. All right, I'm going to pull up the super charts. I'm going to share this screen here. Keeping our eye there. You can see I have been looking at Google. I like this bounce again this morning. That's the second time that it's bounced off that 190, 170-ish area. I do like it there. That's what I have been looking. Yes, my screens look crazy. I totally understand that, but I do watch my screens. As you can see, there's linear regression in there, and I do keep my RSIs on full alert, so I know where I'm going. But you can see here where the buyers and the sellers are. It looks like there's a match here between the buyers and sellers here at 120, 129.75, that 130 right in there on NVIDIA. So these are what I've been looking at. We saw that. But the linear regression does not, it scares me on Bitcoin a little bit. So I expect another pullback, probably testing the 96 to the 94,000 down here around 95.8. You can see right there's what I've been looking at quite heavily. So for those of you who have been looking at that, I can pull up a one chart desktop app. There we go. I have been keeping my eye very tight on we just talked about that a second ago, on Europe with MSCI. I like that a lot. If we're looking at one that I have been also keeping my eye on is Meli Mercado Libre. That is the Amazon of Latin America. We back here in January when it got down to about 1,600, again, pushes higher. This is where I don't like it up in here. So you can see right up here, it's starting to get a little bit wonky up there, as I call it. And you can see the RSI is starting to say, okay, you know what, we've made that push. But this is one that I have been watching quite frequently a little bit. All right, and any stocks out there you guys want to listen to or talk to me about, just hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Keeping our eye on there. Trump on USAID says close it down. I'm going to put that right there in the banner because he just said that right now, and there it is. Trump on USAID says close it down. It seems like they found some places where there were some maybe some payments that shouldn't have been made, or they had some crazy. But he is saying close it down, which is a pseudo arm of the U.S. State Department. So that is one of those things where you definitely keeping our eye there on it. So all right, so if we see that for fact, closing it down, there could be some ramifications around the world. So we'll see where that's at. Also want to keep my eye. We looked at Meli. Amazon this morning was where we were talking about, right? Amazon now still down to about 2.3%. You can see here that it is holding. There's still probably some more selling this morning. Will the institutions be selling? I don't think so. I think the institutions will hold off on that. So I don't see that happening this morning. So, but we'll see. You can see all the stocks that I've been looking at, and here's the one that I'm definitely smiling all of the way. The screens is Boeing. When it got back down to 150s again, we all knew what to do. Here we are again. But I think we're getting into the tops. One that I talked about and I do like is Intuitive Surgical, ISRG, robotics in AI. I talked about that on Schwab the other day. I still think it has room to growth. And look at this, kaboom. The technicals are also starting to agree with me too as well. So I do like that. You can see the days range hit 590.5. We're right in the middle, down a little, just a slight hair today. But Intuitive Surgical is also one that I like as well. Keep my eye on the news too as well. We'll make sure we don't miss any of the news here. Back to our news. There we go. And I will pull up our news. There we go. And see if there's any news out there that's coming through right now. Boyd Gaming price target is raised to goes to $100 from $82. Let's look at that. Boyd Gaming. Share this tab instead. You'll see Boyd Gaming. Our news is right there. If you want to see it, there it is. QP News. Just get an account with Quasar Markets, and you can see we actually have Fly audio as well. So if you want to hear Squawk on your system, Just upgrade that to the squawk, and you'll have it in the system. Yeah. All right. I will pull it up. Earlier, we were talking about BBAI as well, Big Bear AI, up another 7% today. I think that's a Ron Williams stock. I think we're looking at that last couple of days. AI is still not still there. I mean, if we look at C3, one of my favorites in the AI business, is still pushing up as well. NVIDIA, there it is, back to 130 again. Can it continue to go up? Yeah. Energy Secretary Wright says power costs and productions in the United States. Yeah, wow. On CNBC right now, the new Secretary of Energy is Secretary Wright is now on CNBC. So if you want to listen to his talk, it's right there on CNBC this morning. We're looking at CrowdStrike a little bit too, pushing higher here, up 2.5%. We definitely know we need security on our system, so CrowdStrike right back up. One that I've been talking about quite heavily is Netflix. I said Netflix over 1,000. Look at that, back over 1,000 again. It's going to continue to push, I think. And of course, we've all talked about it. Palantir, AI, 112.74 now. There it is. As most of you know, if you're following me, I was buying it down in the 30s. Now we're here in the hundreds. So I think it still continues to push higher, but we don't know yet. Let's keep our eye on it a little bit. And of course, I am keeping my eye on uranium. For those of you not watching, uranium prices just fell to $70 a pound on the commercial commodity side. But uranium royalty, they're the ones that dig it up out of the ground. They're still digging it up. And listen, I think they're going to make some money. So right now, I am keeping my eye there. Another one that I have been keeping my eye on is CCJ. That's Cameco Corporation. They make power plants, nuclear power plants. So you can see here I'm liking the technical analysis behind it, and it could get back up in the mid 50s here. You can see where the buyers and sellers are matching up here in the 50s. That's what I think people are seeing this one go back to. So I do like it there. Pull back up the QQQ, see where we are. Yeah, we're pushing higher up 0.42%. And let me guess, good old NVIDIA is probably just, there it is, 130 again as it's pushing up. Now, with the Qs, it is heavily laden to Apple. We're just not seeing it, right? Apple's right in the middle here. I think some of these new products coming out, they're just not doing it right now. So for me, I'm not seeing it. Yep. We're seeing BKNG, a sympathy play with Expedia, booking holdings here. BKNG now up 5.25%. So look at that. Nice little pop there on the day. I'll pull up a 1-minute chart as we're watching it. Yeah, it looks like it could be. Oh, look at that. Could be right where the sellers are now. So keep your eye on that on booking holdings. The spread's a little high there, so be careful. 500 to 565. So the spread's a little far. Be careful there with booking holdings. And keeping our eye here on Airbnb on the same theme there, up 4.5% there as well. But it looks like it could be some pullback here right here in the 1-minute chart. Yeah, there it is. Some of that selling that we just talked about. So careful there on that too as well. Dollar yen now 151.65. Dollar is strengthening against the yen a little bit, but it when I was playing with it in Tokyo not too long ago, I liked it better when it was at 155, which we were. I was in Tokyo back here, and now the yen is starting to catch up a bit. So for me, this is where I'm thinking that the dollar continues to push back up. Maybe we get back up there, especially if there's any tariffs in the Asian sector as well. But right now, the job numbers are pretty good. And because of that, I think that's why you're seeing the dollar pushing higher here a little bit. All right. Any stocks out there you want me to look at? Let me know. IBM is one that I have been completely keeping an eye on. Look at this on the 1-minute chart. IBM could push right back up, but the Q's pushing up. Could get back up 260, 264. This is on the 1-hour chart here. So you can see the 1-hour chart just gave a big green glowing buy signal there. Yeah, look at that. Very nice. Like that. Like that a lot. All right. And there we go. We are seeing a little bit of a push here. So let's see what we see. It's keep your eye back on Nvidia. That's where my eye is right now. 129.95. A lot of options being traded right now in Nvidia. There's a big gapper here. I think the first move here is to 133.58, and then this gap back here to 141. So if we see it, yeah. It reports that Paris's prosecution office is opening a probe into Elon Musk there over alleged algorithmic distortion. I think I misspelled distortion there. France's prosecutor. So looks like Elon Musk getting hit again. Let's look at Tesla stock as we talk about that. Tesla. So All right, we're back, and I apologize that the power went out in the office here in the studio, so we are back now. But there you are. Okay, all right, here we go. What do you got? TPB popping here. Yep. Okay, I like that. We'll go right back into that Turning Point Brands, and I'll go ahead and present my screen again. All right, we can see it now up on the right-hand side. TPB popping here at 68.54. Turning Point Brands. But the 1 minute chart here, you can see that I'm kind of liking this a little bit. Turning Point Brands. Now, look, the volume's a little low. I get all that, but there's something going on here. I like this a lot. Yeah, there you go. All right, PLTR, Palantir, still pushing here, and we'll keep our eye here on NVIDIA. Back to over the 130 handle. So on that 1 minute chart, it seems to be this is where it's loading right about here. So this is interesting to me. McDonald's, we talked about McDonald's the last few days. Now pushing higher here, 296.22. So that should bring the overall bigger picture market up a little bit. We talked about this again. There's Melly. Look at Melly pushing up about 0.5%. There it is, right, bouncing off that top of linear regression there. Could go right back on up. This is a 1 minute chart here, so I do like this. Once this a little bit of selling here turns around, I think Melly could go right back on up. Let's look here. One of the when we talk about from the perspective of healthcare, Humana down 0.67%. So the flip around here is right about there. So could push higher. I know that we heard from FedEx and Amazon a little bit of a tizzy there. As you can see, the slippage there. But I do like this. If you look at a 1 hour chart on FedEx, look at this thing. This is what's really bothered me about FedEx. Could be another slip here, another sell back down to the 250, 248 range here. So I am keeping my eye very close here on FedEx. There it is right there. All right. I continue to want to push back in here to Boeing as we look at the 1 hour chart. I think Boeing has now made its move. There is some selling right up there. You can see it right there at 185.87. You can see where the sellers are starting to say, okay, nope, I've had enough. This is where I want to get out. So yeah, you're seeing a little bit of selling there too as well. And of course, if you're looking at it from an NVIDIA perspective, breaking out once again, there's 130 now again. So lots of selling here. Coming into the 10 o'clock hour. Now, why is that important? I think it's important because I want to look at here we go, we'll pull it up, the numbers that are coming out for University of Michigan's expectations here. So the sentiment here, prior reading there is 73.2. The forecast here is 71.1. Anything over 50, okay, get it, is expansion. We want to see that, but right now I don't think so. I think we're probably going to see a little bit of a pullback there too as well. And I think people have been asking me about copper, Dr. Copper. Copper expects, pull it up here. Copper is exploding up 3.3%. You heard this yesterday from Peter Thomas talking about how copper was going to push up, and copper now exploding to the upside here, especially on that 1 hour chart. 463 there. So wow. China, we talked about this yesterday. He told you what was happening. China was buying again copper. They're buying lots of it. So this price has gone up. Not the best time to buy an air conditioner. IBM now, look at that. We talked about that just a second ago, that IBM might come back. There's the 1 hour chart telling you there's the buyers coming right back in. I like it. And NVIDIA now 130.17. Trying to push back up to the highs of the day. If we do that, I think we talked about this here. Look at this 130.41. So 130.37 was where the sellers were, because 130.41 right in there is where people could explode to the upside. There's air all the way to 133. So could see a $3 jump if we break the highs of the day today. So this is where I really like it here. Could see a nice big jump. 5 minutes now into the top of the hour, we'll have the wholesale inventory numbers as well as that sentiment numbers we want to see. Yeah. All right. And we're hearing from Christian Frommertz out there. That hood, Robinhood is pushing higher here. Now Robinhood's up 3.5% on the day. So look at that. Interesting. Like it. All right. And Disney struggling a little bit still. As most of you know, anything over 100 to me is a buy. But now that we're seeing it right in these numbers here, we saw a nice big run on Disney the other day up there to about 118. We need to get it back over about the 114 handle. We'll make another move over there. But right now, the parks are busy. So we know that, right? We know the parks are busy. We know Streamingly lost 700,000 subscribers, probably less than they expected. So, for me, I think that's a different place to be. Yeah. Got about 3 minutes down to the top of the hour now. Albemarle, at the big lithium company there, really struggling over the last few days. So, yeah. Dan Dulac talking about the University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers. Absolutely. I'll pull those back up here in a second. I'll show everybody here. We are expecting a reading here of 71. The conditions here are 73. But the sentiment preliminary reading, 71.1 is expected. Prior reading, 73.2. Everything seems to be smaller than we expected, 77.9. And the conditions, 73 was what forecast. So that's not good. And if that's the case, we could see a little bit of a pullback here a little bit. All right. NGG, National Grid, also pushing higher here on the hourly charts. I do like it. We talked about that last week in the top 50s here, somewhere around there was a nice little buy. National Grid getting back into the 60s is about where it's at, but I think it could sneak right back up there into the 63, 64 handle pretty quickly. So yeah. All right, got about 2 minutes now until the top of the hour. University of Michigan numbers coming out. There you go. Nintendo's patent confirms the biggest rumor about the Switch 2. We talked about that this morning as NTDOY. The new Nintendo. I do like this. This is an interesting play here. Not a lot of volume. We know that. We get it. It's not one that's traded quite heavily. The average volume is 1.8 million shares. I want to pull up a daily chart of this. This is what I think. I think the Switch 2 could be a big winner for Nintendo. It could be a game changer here. So that is what I'm looking at. All right, dollar CAD here continuing. Look at that. The dollar dropping pretty heavily here against the Canadian loonie. Look at that move. 150 seems to be a little high for the Canadian loonie. I'm going to pull up a monthly chart and show you. I remember when it was $1.50 back in the day, right? Back in 2003. Now look at it, right? You can see this is about where it is. $1.50 is where they don't like it. It's too high against the dollar against the loonie. So yeah. And of course, margaritas and dollar mix, obviously, this is where we're seeing the dollar pull back a little bit too. I remember a few years back when we was, lots of margaritas, 25 25 pesos to the dollar. Now we're down to about 20 pesos to the dollar, which is still pretty high, right? Just not, but about back in March, it was about 16, 17. Now we're back to 20. So, yeah. Here reports now that Mexico has received nearly 11,000 deported migrants here. I'm going to pull this up for everybody. There it is. Mexico has received nearly 11,000 deported migrants from the United States. So interesting there. Go. Good old-fashioned Apple. Apple still slipping a little bit today, so that's could put a little bit of pressure on the QQQ here. All right, here we go. Inflation numbers coming out now. University of Michigan condition now. Preliminary consumer sentiment falls to 67.8. That is not very good number. That is very bad numbers. And that will bring us to the end of the day. But there it is, 67.8. We expect the 71.8, a lot less than the 73 we had last time. All right, for all of us here at Quasar Markets, thanks for watching. And we'll see you right back here on Monday.